Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at perimeter word problems. So hopefully watch the video, and if you have questions, let us know. So let's go ahead and get right into it. See if we can do this all in one take. Whoa, that was dizzying. All right, so we are going to look at problems that deal with perimeter today. If you guys remember, perimeter is the distance around an object. You guys are going to be asked to solve 4 of these on your own. And so I just want to go through a couple of them with you. We'll actually do the first one together. So this one's a freebie, so you really only have a couple to do on your own. And then we're going to just ask you to try some to see if you can make sense of it. So first, let's read the problem. It says the length of a rectangle is 3 times the width. The perimeter of the rectangle, now remember perimeter is the distance around. So we got to add up kind of all the sides. It's the distance around an object. It says the perimeter of the rectangle is 72 feet. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So it wants us to find the length and the width. So if I was looking at this, one of the things I would do just to help me out is I would create a drawing. You don't need a drawing, but I think a drawing helps us kind of visualize what's going on. So we know we have a rectangle, so I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And I will say today I have made all the drawings for you just to kind of help out. But you could just draw it on your own if it didn't give you one. It says the length of the rectangle is 3 times the width. The length is 3 times the width. And so they're talking about the length in terms of width. So if we just call the width x, because we don't know what that is, we know the length of the rectangle is 3 times as much. So how would I show 3 times x? I would just show it as 3x. So this is what the visual of what that story problem is telling us. We have a width of some length. We don't know what it is, so we call it x. But let's say this is 5. Then we know this is 3 times as much, so it would be 15. Or if this was 4, then this would be 3 times 4 or 12. So we just got this idea. Now if it's a rectangle, we know something about a rectangle. We know that if this side is, let's say 5 feet long, that this side is also the same, that these two sides are of equal length. So we can say if this is x, this is x. If this is 3x long, we know this length down here is also 3x long. So if you kind of picture these as numbers, you know, if this is 10, this is 10, this is 5, this is 5, whatever it might be. I realize 10 and 5 wouldn't work in this situation because this has to be 3 times bigger than this. But we get our basic drawing. And then it says we know only one thing about this rectangle outside of the dimensions are 3 times bigger, and that is the perimeter is 72, or the distance around this whole thing is 72. And so what we're going to do today is create algebra equations and then solve them based off of these word problems. So I know if I added up all these sides, I should get 72. So if I thought about it, there's 4 sides to a rectangle. And so there's going to be 4 things I'm going to have to add up. And when I'm all done adding up the sides, it's going to give me 72 as an answer. Now I don't know what these actual lengths are, so I'm just going to put in what I know. X is one of the sides, plus 3x, plus another x, plus the final 3x. All of those added up equals 72. Now because these are like terms and they're all on the same side, we can combine them. So remember, x is just 1x, so 1x plus 3x combined gives me a 4x, plus 1 more is 5, plus 3 more is 8. So if I add up all of these, 3x's plus 1x plus 3x plus 1x, that's going to give me a total of 8x's, and that's equal to 72. So at this point, once I set it up, I'm just solving it. So these are all on the same side, so we're just going to combine all those together to get 8x. Now I just want to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 8. And I get x is equal to 9. Now the problem doesn't ask us what x is equal to. It asks us what the dimensions of the rectangle are. So I got to go back and say, well, what is the length and what is the width of this rectangle? Now I guess by definition the length is the longer side. So let's start with the width. The width is just x long. Well, we said that was 9, so we would say this is 9. And it was in feet, so we could say 9 feet. The length, on the other hand, was 3x, or 3 times that amount. So if our x is 9, then 3 times x would be 27 feet. We can go back and check our work just to make sure that we have it right by just putting in, if this was a rectangle of 9, 9, 27, and 27, if I added up all the sides, would I get 72? So 9 plus 27 is 36. 36 plus another 36 would give me 72. So this would be our answer here, a length of 27 and a width of 9. So when you look at this, I just did one and I kind of explained it in probably more detail than maybe was needed, but there's just a couple things to think about. We want to make sure that perimeter, if we see perimeter, we're adding up all the sides. If it's a rectangle, there should be 4 things we're adding up. And those 4 things are going to equal our overall perimeter. So the reason I said 72 is because it said the perimeter was 72. After that, I'm just going to solve like I normally would. So again, this is your answer to number 1 today. So you can just work and put that answer right in there. Try it out on your own if you want. But I want to look at one that's not on there just so we can just get one more example. If you feel like you're good after that, then you can jump right into the work. So let's look at this one. It says the perimeter of a rectangular skating rink is 530 feet. So again, perimeter, that means that distance around. And it tells us that that distance around is 530 feet. So I know I'm going to have to add up 4 things because this is a rectangle. It has 4 sides. And that's going to add up to 530 feet. It says if the length is 5 feet more than 3 times the width, what are the dimensions? So this one already has the drawing here for me, so I don't have to think about it too much. This is my width x, and this is how I show 5 feet more plus 5 than 3 times the width. So 3 times the width plus 5 more. So if I'm going to set this up as a perimeter work problem, I'm thinking I have 4 sides of a rectangle. If this was a triangle, I would stop here and just have 3 sides to add up. And I'm going to add it up, and it's going to give me the total perimeter, which in this case is 530 feet. Now I'm just going to enter in all my sides. So I have a side of x, and then my second side is 3x plus 5. My third side, remember, is going to be the mirror of this one. So if this is x long, this one's x long as well. So I'm going to put that in there. And then finally, the final side down here is going to be a mirror of this one. So it's going to be 3x plus 5 as well. So this is my algebra equation. X plus 3x plus 5 plus another x plus another 3x plus 5 equals 530. It might look long, but it's not a very complicated equation to solve. What you'll notice is we have a lot of x's. We have an x here, an x here, an x here, and an x here. And all of them are on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So when they're on the same side, we can just combine our like terms. Remember, if there's not a number in front, we assume it to be 1. And so let's figure out how many x's altogether are on this side. We have 1x plus 3 more, so that gives me 4, plus 1 more gives me 5, plus 3 more gives me 8. So there's 8 x's altogether. And then I have this plus 5 and this other plus 5. Now we could write it out as plus 5, or we could just combine those because they're also like terms. So if I wanted, I could write plus 5 equals 530. That would be us adding up all the x's. Or I could just say, well, I know what 5 plus 5 is, and just go right to 8x plus 10 equals 530. At that point, it's just a 2-step equation, so we're just going to solve like normal. We'll subtract 10 from both sides, get 8x equals 520, and then divide by 8. And then we could just use our calculator and do that division. So 520 divided by 8. Again, you can use your calculator on your Chromebooks, or you can use a calculator that you might have on your phone. But 520 divided by 8 is 65. So that means x is equal to 65. Now, if it just asked us what x was, then we would be all set. But it says what are the dimensions. So we need to know the length and the width. So our final answer has to ask or say what's the length and the width. And so in this one, the 65, the x, that stood for the width. So we just know that this is 65. So if I thought about that, I know the width of the ice arena or skating rink is 65. But to find the length, it says it's 3 times our width plus 5. So I'm going to have to go back to my calculator, unless you can do this in your head, and say, well, 3 times my width, so 3 times x. Well, we said x was 65, so 3 times 65 is 195, but then it says we have to add 5 more, or that it was 5 more than that. So if we add 5 more to it, it gives us a length of 200. So again, when you're done and you get your width, yep, that's what x is. But what is this side? It's 3 times x plus 5. We're not solving, we're just evaluating. What is 3 times our x value plus 5? Well, 3 times 65 plus 5 gives me 200. So I know that the length of this is 200. And again, the best way to check is, you know that the perimeter is supposed to be 530 feet. So if I add up all those sides, 65 plus 200 plus 65 plus 200, when I hit enter, it should come out to 530. If it did, then it's a pretty good chance that I got this right. And it does come out to 530. This was in feet, so we'll label our stuff in feet. And that's how we would do perimeter word problems like that. So we're going to leave you a couple to do on your own. If you have questions, like always, you can reach out to us via email, or just ask us next time you see us in class. We hope you guys have a great, fantastic day, and we'll talk to you soon.